Good morning, good morning, good morning, people. What's going on? Welcome to the Hype Show. I am Big J all day. Thank you for coming through. Appreciate that. It is Sunday, September 10th, 2023. Thank you so much for joining me. So, we're going to do this for about an hour. You guys are going to be on with me until 11 a.m. Mountain Time, 1 a.m. Eastern. Let's just get right into it. I am Big J all day. We're going to be talking sports, culture, and entertainment. It's my first time doing this, but it's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun, lots of stuff to talk about. Obviously, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about football today because that's pretty much all there is going on as the years go by or as the months go by and as we get into the stream. I'm going to be talking a lot more about what's going on in other sports. A lot of sports shows, they only talk football and basketball. That's really all. I'm going to be talking about baseball. I'm going to talk about hockey. I'm going to touch on some international sports, soccer, golf, the works. I like sports in general, so I'm not going to be too biased as to what I talk about. Let's get into this here. First and foremost, if you didn't see the Thursday night football game, the Kansas City Chiefs, defending Super Bowl champions, kicked off their season. Travis Kelsey, the all pro tight end, was out due to an hyperextended knee that he suffered in practice earlier in the week. Now he's possibly going to be available for game two or week two, excuse me. That's going to be at Jacksonville at 1 a.m. Eastern next week, September 17th. Um, Kansas City looked really lost without Kelsey, plain and simple. He's responsible for roughly 25% of the targets that Mahomes throws over the course of a season on average. And Mahomes targeted 12 different receivers, and he connected with 11 of those receivers. 12 different receivers. Now, me personally, that sucks. That kind of sucks because Travis Kelsey, he's everything for that offense. He's a glorified wide receiver. He's called a tight end, but he's a wide receiver. Like, let's just be honest. I don't really see a lot of plays where I see him blocking that much because that's not what they brought him in to do. He has the ability. I'm sure he's a good sized guy, but that's not what he's there for. He's there to catch passes. He's there to catch balls, pretty much. Pause. Um, Again, Mahomes targeted 12 different receivers. Kadarius Tony had one catch for 1 yard. One catch for 1 yard. Four drops. Dropped four catches, and three of those catches were on third and short, if I'm not mistaken. I know two of them were, but that might have been three. That's first downs that Mahomes usually gets if he throws that to Kelsey or to any other receiver. They had Juju Smith-Schuster as a receiver last year, and they could have used him last night, as crazy as that sounds. Or on Thursday night, excuse me. They could have used him because as goofy as he can be with the TikToks and taking pictures and selfies on people's logos in the middle of the field, he's a pretty solid receiver. He's with New England now. He signed a deal there to go there, a 3-year deal. And they replaced him with Kansas City replaced him with rookies. You got Sky Moore in there. I know this is his second year, but he's still a rookie. He didn't play much last year. He didn't really play until the playoffs for this team. So I consider him a rookie. You got Justin Ross, he's a rookie. Rasheed Rice, rookie. Like all these dudes are young. You're not dependent on veterans. Like if it was a situation where he had at least one, maybe two veteran guys on his team, he'd have been way better off. But that's just not what they do. Plain and simple. Looking at Kansas City's schedule again, they got Jacksonville week 2. If you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I wouldn't be worried at all. I just wouldn't be worried at all. I just wouldn't be. If it was a situation where Kelsey's missing multiple weeks, kind of like the situation with the Los Angeles Rams, they're going to put Cooper Cup on IR. He's going to miss a minimum of 4 games. If it was a situation like that, yeah, I would worry. Again, Jacksonville next week, they're at Jacksonville September 17th. The following week, they're home against the Bears. Then their next 2 games after that, they're at the New York Jets, Sunday Night Football, week 4. And then week 5, they're at the Minnesota Vikings. That still sounds like 4-1, 3-2. You know what I mean? And then that following week, you're playing against the Broncos, Chargers, Broncos. That's week 6, week 7, week 8. You're playing Broncos, Chargers, Broncos. So now you're getting into the division. You got to see how the Raiders are going to do. You got to see how the Broncos are going to do. You got to see how the Chiefs are, or the Chargers are going to do, because the Raiders and Broncos, they play each other right off the bat. So that's another team in the AFC West that's going to be 0-1 unless they tie. You know what I mean? The Kansas City Chiefs, I'm not worried about that. I'd be a little worried, small worried, like a small worry. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I would be a 3. I just wouldn't be that worried if I were a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Patrick Mahomes was 21 of 39 for 226 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw an interception. It was a 50-yard pick six taken to the house by safety Brian Branch of Detroit Lions. He's a rookie, second round pick out of Alabama. Didn't even know that. They got a rookie safety back there making it happen already. You know. Now Mahomes wasn't sacked, but he was running for his life quite a bit all night. If you go back and look at that game, lots of scrambling, lots of running around. He had a lot to do. You know. Jared Goff, here's an interesting stat. He's now 2-0 against Patrick Mahomes in his career, dating back to his tenure with the Los Angeles Rams. Patrick Mahomes, looking at the statistics here, he was the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs with 45 rushing yards. Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, your number 1 and number 2 running backs for Kansas City, they combined for 45 yards rushing. That sucks. On the Detroit side, Jared Goff was 22 of 35 for 253 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. Mahomes' QBR was slightly higher at 72.5 compared to Goff's 64.2. I hear QBR all the time, and I just don't love talking about QBR. It's gonna get mentioned a lot on this stream, I'm sure, but I just don't love talking about QBR because I'm more of a guy when it comes to the results as far as the receiving yards and the touchdowns. Because I've seen people with high QBRs get whooped because their defense didn't play well. So it doesn't really put any stock into how great the quarterback really was that day. That's why I don't freak out about QBR or anything of that nature, to be honest with you. On the Detroit side, David Montgomery, the new acquisition that they acquired in the offseason from the Chicago Bears, he had 21 carries for 74 yards and that touchdown, 3.5 yards per carry. So with Detroit, you got a little bit of balance as far as running the football and as far as throwing the football. But I think where they really showed people what they can do is on defense. You know, picking up CJ Gardner Johnson from the Eagles, who went to the Super Bowl last year, that really helped solidify the back part of the defense, the safeties, the secondary. That's the area where they kind of needed the help. They got great linemen on offense and defense, but you needed a little bit of solidification as far as how the back end looks on your defense. That's where the issue was, in my opinion. But looking at the Detroit Lions, in all honesty, they're gonna win that division because their division consisting of the Green Bay Packers, who no longer have Aaron Rodgers after 18 seasons, the Chicago Bears, who again they have a third-year quarterback in Justin Fields. He showed what he can do, but they're still looking to get back to being a relevant team again. You know, you picked up Chase Claypool late in the season last year. You trade away your top draft pick to pick up DJ Moore from the Carolina Panthers, so that gives Justin Fields somebody to throw to. They're not a threat. And then the Minnesota Vikings, you don't have Dalvin Cook in the backfield anymore. You're now depending on Alexander Madison to take over that lead role. Adam Thielen, they let him go. That's fine. He was kind of treading. He was kind of treading that water anyway. It's being considered old, so he'll help Carolina out as far as where he signed in the offseason. But they didn't really need him anymore. They have a nice core of receivers. Justin Jefferson's your guy. If you have fantasy football and you're the number one pick, you most likely took him. There's no question about that. KJ Osborne, he has the speed and he has the hands. It's just getting him acclimated and getting him into the game. And then Jordan Addison, the wide receiver, the rookie that they took, um, that wide receiver out of USC, 24th pick in the first round. I could see him being a nice slot receiver. We'll have to see. But again, the Minnesota Vikings overall, we're back to Detroit here. The NFC North, they should win that division. I don't see a situation where the Lions don't win the division this year unless somebody gets hurt. You know what I mean? This is football, you know. I really liked the rookie running back they took, Jahmyr Gibbs, out of Alabama. I think he's great. He has power, he has speed, he can catch the ball. That's what you have to be a or a running back nowadays. You don't just run anymore. Looking at Detroit Lions, their schedule next week, they're home against the Seattle Seahawks, week 2, 11 a.m. Mountain Time, so that's 1 a.m. Eastern. And then week 3, they're at home again against the Atlanta Falcons. Um, I could see Detroit winning those games. The Seahawks, we'll have to see if they're for real. You know, Geno Smith surprised everybody. Nobody expected Geno Smith to be anything based on what we've seen in his career already. We're gonna have to see. The Atlanta Falcons, they got a lot of young guys over there, and they're starting over at quarterback again. We're gonna have to see. Desmond Ritter, he's taking over for Marcus Mariota. Marcus Mariota's a journeyman at this point. We'll have to see. He's technically a rookie. I know this was his second season, but he didn't play much until about week 15. That's when they decided to pull the rug from under Mariota and give the young guy a shot. The season was over. So we'll have to see there. And then the Detroit Lions are at Green Bay week 4. Now, the Lions beat the Packers both times in 2022 with Aaron Rodgers. Know what I mean? They could be 4-0. The Lions could be a 4-0 team after after the next few games. They beat Kansas City. They got Seattle, Atlanta, at Green Bay. They could be 4-0. And then they're home against Carolina. That could be 5-0. The Green Bay Packers game, week 4, is actually a Thursday night game, September 28th at 8:15 Eastern time. So that is a short turnaround, being at home and then having to jump on a plane to go to Green Bay. That out of the 5 games, out of the first 5 games, if I were a betting man and I were looking at this a month ago, I would have thought out of their first 5 games they would lose to Kansas City. But the NFL is weird like that. A lot of these games that we're gonna predict may not even happen like that. We don't know. We're just going off of stuff that we've seen already to judge the future. That's all I can really say. But look again, looking at this Detroit Lions team, they could be 5-0. 5-0. Because as far as I'm concerned, the NFC's not that strong this year to me. We already talked about the rest of the NFC North that the Lions are in. If you look at the NFC South, for example, let's just talk about the other divisional opponents that the Lions may have. If you look at the NFC South, the Atlanta Falcons, the NFC South consists of the Atlanta Falcons, Carolina Panthers, New Orleans Saints, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Lions are better than all those teams. Tom Brady finally retired for good. So the Buccaneers are using Baker Mayfield. The Saints have acquired Derek Carr from the Raiders after 9 seasons with them. He's their quarterback. He doesn't scare me. He's not trash, but he doesn't scare me. He has great games and he's really aggressive down the field when he's throwing the football, but he doesn't scare me like that. It's not Peyton Manning 2006. The Carolina Panthers, they got a rookie quarterback in Bryce Young. The Atlanta Falcons have a rookie quarterback in essence with Desmond Ritter. You look at the NFC West, that consists of the Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, San Francisco 49ers, Seattle Seahawks. With the Arizona Cardinals, they're probably playing for that number 1 pick. Let's just keep it real. That team is not they're not solid as far as the personnel. Kyler Murray tore his ACL very late in the 2022 season, so he's not even running or jumping yet, they said. The Los Angeles Rams, they just announced that Cooper Kupp, their all-pro wide receiver, is now going on IR because of this hamstring injury. He aggravated his hamstring on August 1st in practice, and then he aggravated it again last week trying to get ready for the season. So they said, let's sit you down here. They were thinking a game, but after seeing a specialist this past weekend, this situation is so severe, they felt the need to put him on IR. So the Rams aren't going to be a factor this year. They just won a Super Bowl 2 seasons ago, and the house is just crumbling down. They had the worst record for a defending Super Bowl champion in history last season at 5-12. Rams aren't a threat. The 49ers, we've been saying for years, they're a quarterback away, a quarterback away. They need a quarterback. So the quarterbacks coming into the season are Brock Purdy, who showed us late that he can ball. He's not Mr. Irrelevant by any means. That's just a title. And then you have Sam Darnold, who you signed over from the Carolina Panthers. He didn't really work out for them, so they went with the rookie. The 49ers are going to win that division, to me. Like I said, the Seattle Seahawks, who won the division last year and surprised a lot of folks. I'm sorry, they were the wild card and they surprised a lot of folks. But as far as I'm concerned, the Seattle Seahawks, it's a roll of the dice. We're just gonna have to really see. They're the one team I have questions about. I don't know if they're good, but I don't think they're terrible. And then the NFC East. Let's discuss the NFC East. You have the Dallas Cowboys, the New York Giants, the Philadelphia Eagles, who were in the Super Bowl last year, and the Washington Commanders. Now, the Dallas Cowboys, we talk about them all the time, whether you want to or not. We talk about the Cowboys all the time. The Cowboys were 12-5 last year before losing in the divisional round to the 49ers. They have not been to a Super Bowl since the 1995 season, 1996. And Dak Prescott led the league in interceptions last year, 15 interceptions last year. That's not going to work. But at the same time, I don't expect them to be terrible. They're going to be in the mix. As far as winning the division, the Eagles, they did get to a Super Bowl, and I get that. But they lost their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator. They went and got jobs. They got jobs in the NFL. That's typical. Your new defensive coordinator is Sean Desai. Your new offensive coordinator is Brian Johnson. Shane Steichen got a job coaching the Indianapolis Colts. And of course, Jonathan Gannon, the former DC, he's now coaching the Arizona Cardinals. So you're bringing in a new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. You got new personnel on defense as well. CJ Gardner Johnson, he was huge for them. He's with Detroit. Their leading sack as far as tackle, Hargreaves, he's with the San Francisco 49ers now. He got a new deal with them. So the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know. So to go back to what we originally talked about, the Detroit Lions, they could be a top 4 team in the NFC. No doubt. Can they win a playoff game? Probably. Football is crazy. We're just talking. I'm talking right now how I feel. They could win a game in the playoffs. Kansas City, the Kansas City Chiefs, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. That Thursday night football game was pretty solid, but the Lions are going to be great, and the Chiefs, they'll be fine. If you're a Chiefs fan, I would be worried if this thing goes on much longer with Travis Kelsey. Chris Jones not being there, but being there, which was strange to me. He was at the game, but he wasn't in uniform. He was eating popcorn like me and you would be. They still got a pretty decent pass rush on Kansas City's team. That surprised me too. They still have a very decent pass rush. If I'm a Chiefs fan, I'm chilling. If I'm a Lions fan, I'm pumped. This is one of the rare games where nobody should really hang their head. Because typically, when a team loses, you have a reason to hang your head. Kansas City, they'll be fine. Now, let's talk about the rest of the NFL schedule. Good God Almighty. That's just the one game. We got all these games starting today. Got these games tonight. Got a game tomorrow. Let's start with the Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons, an NFC South matchup. You're going to have rookies on each side making their respective debuts for each team. As I mentioned earlier, the Carolina Panthers are coming out with rookie Bryce Young out of Alabama. And the Atlanta Falcons will be debuting rookie running back Bijan Robinson out of the University of Texas. Big, strong, physical back, can catch the ball. Hey, man, there's nowhere to go but up if you're the Carolina Panthers, if you're the Atlanta Falcons. The Carolina Panthers, you had how many quarterbacks last year? You tried Baker Mayfield, you tried Sam Darnold, you tried PJ Tucker. Wasn't going to work for you. So now you bring in the kid, number one overall pick that you acquired from the Chicago Bears. You got to see what he's got going on. The Carolina Panthers schedule, let's talk about Carolina first. Their schedule, of course, they're at Atlanta today. They're home versus the New Orleans Saints, September 18th. That's actually a Sunday night football game. I'm sorry, a Monday night football game because there's two Monday night football games next week. Kind of strange. They usually do that week one, but next week there's two Monday night football games. And that's the first one. That one's at 7:15 Eastern. The Carolina Panthers facing the New York Saints at home, or New Orleans Saints at home in their opener. Week 3, they're at the Seattle Seahawks. That's gonna be September 24th, 4:05 Eastern. Week 4, they're home against the Minnesota Vikings. Week 5, they're at Detroit. I said that Detroit would win that game. I'm pretty sure they're gonna win that game. The Carolina Panthers, to me, it's gonna take a couple years to really get this thing right. I don't really like Bryce Young, as far as his size. He's 5'10". He's measured at the combine at 5'10", 204 pounds. That's kinda small for football. In the world, you're a good-sized guy, but in football, that's kinda small to be taking those hits. I genuinely hope that Carolina has the line to protect him. That's literally the only thing I would worry about if I were the Carolina Panthers. Do we have the personnel to keep him upright? Because even when he's running down the field, I don't want him getting hit. I don't. I don't want him getting hit. But they believe in him. They believe he's the way. As far as at Atlanta, Carolina at Atlanta, as far as my pick, that's really a pick 'em. That feels very much like a pick 'em because last season, that entire division was under 500. Somebody had to make the playoffs, which was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 8-9, which was Tom Brady's last year. Everybody else was 7 and 10. Literally, Atlanta, New Orleans, and Carolina were all 7 and 10 last season. They literally all had the same record. They finished in the same spot. We need players, plain and simple. Me personally, I'm gonna take the Atlanta Falcons to win this football game. So I'll say Atlanta wins and Carolina starts 0-1. They're home against the Saints. I'm gonna take the Saints in that game. Then they're at Seattle. I don't like that because cross country travel is real. Traveling across a few different time zones, I don't care what anybody says. I'm tired, but they have to make the trip to Seattle September 24th. I see that as an L. Week 4, they're back home against the Minnesota Vikings. Just based on who Minnesota has and the playmakers they have on offense and the couple of guys they have on defense, I'm gonna take Minnesota in that game, and then as I said, week 5, they're at Detroit. Carolina could be an 0-5, 1-4 football team because even before they made that trade to get the number 1 pick, they were still picking in the top 10. That means your team wasn't very good the previous season. When you're picking that high, it's either because the team wasn't very good or you traded for it, period. So looking at the Carolina Panthers, they could be headed towards another lottery. It'll take some time to see what they really need. Um, Running back definitely jumps out. when you look at the Carolina Panthers. Running back jumps out. If there's a stud running back in the draft, I say take him and let him sit on the bench. Your running backs at this current time is Miles Sanders. He's going to be your starter. That's who you signed from the Philadelphia Eagles. Chuba Hubbard is the backup. He's been there for years as their backup, kind of a solid back. And then your third back is Raheem Blackshear. Never heard of the guy. This is only his second season. He was picked out of Virginia Tech. He's 5'9", 190. He's active today. But last season he had 23 carries for 77 yards. Again, very much a wild card. We're really gonna have to see with the Carolina Panthers, but again, they could be 0-5. Looking at the Atlanta Falcons, the team that they're playing against today, they're kind of in a similar position. They're playing against Carolina, as I mentioned. Then they're home versus the Green Bay Packers, week 2. Week 3, they're at Detroit. Week 4, they're home against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Week 5, they're home against the Houston Texans. Again, their top pick was Bijan Robinson, running back out of Texas. They took him with the 8th pick overall in the 2023 draft. I picked Atlanta to win against Carolina, so they'll be a 1-0 football team. Home against Green Bay. That's one of those. Again, the NFC is filled with question marks. Green Bay is going with the first quarterback outside of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers since 1992. When you say that out loud, that hits if you're a Green Bay Packers fan. What does Jordan Love have? This is his 5th season with the Green Bay Packers. I still don't know if they're any good. So, looking at Atlanta's schedule, I'm gonna give Atlanta the win just strictly because of the fact they're at home. If Aaron Rodgers was on the team, I may pick Green Bay, even though he had kind of a down year last year. So I'm gonna go with Atlanta being 2-0. They're at Detroit week 3. I'm taking Detroit to win that football game. It's gonna be loud. These people in Detroit have been starving for the Lions to be good. So I'm gonna take the Atlanta Falcons to lose that game. They'll be 2-1. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they welcome them in. Jacksonville, they're gonna be good. People are sleeping on Jacksonville, but Jacksonville is going to be a top team in the AFC. I could see Jacksonville coming in there and beating them because it's not far travel. Jacksonville, Florida, and Atlanta, that's not a far trip. That's not cross country like what we were talking about with Carolina and Seattle. I could see them winning that football game, Jacksonville. That'll put Atlanta at 2-2. And then again, they're home for the Texans week 5. They'll win that game. Okay, Houston, they need help. They're much like Carolina. They took a rookie quarterback early in the draft to kind of solidify what they had. I got Atlanta winning that game to finish start 3-2 through the first 5 weeks. So Carolina and Atlanta, that's a nice game. We'll have to see again. That's a pick 'em, but I'm taking Atlanta to win that game. Also up on the schedule, the Cincinnati Bengals and the Cleveland Browns. Another divisional matchup. This time in the AFC North. The Cincinnati Bengals, they paid Joe Burrow. They paid that brother. Joe Burrow is now the highest paid player in NFL history. And it's just funny to me how this is going to keep happening. This is going to keep happening because the next guy wants to be paid. The next guy wants his money. Because remember, Lamar Jackson, he got his deal. He was the highest paid player. Jalen Hurts, he got his deal from Philly. He became the highest paid. And Justin Herbert, he got his deal. He became the highest paid. Now, a few days ago, Joe Burrow, he gets his deal, highest paid. That's just kind of how this thing goes. Funny statistic here, sidebar before we get into Cincinnati at Cleveland here. If those 4 deals that I hadn't mentioned didn't happen with the quarterbacks getting extended, do you know who would be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL as far as average coming into this season? Russell Wilson of the Denver Broncos would be your highest paid quarterback if those other 4 guys didn't get their deals. He would be making $50 million this year. And if you're a Broncos fan, That 5-year extension that he signed hasn't even kicked in yet. This is the last year of what was from the Seattle deal he signed. $50 million. But that's neither here nor there. Cincinnati, I personally think they're going to be in the mix. They were obviously in the last two AFC championship games against the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost last season, but the previous year they were in the Super Bowl before losing to the Los Angeles Rams. I don't see them having a rough time except to start. Because remember, last season, Cincinnati did start with a loss to Pittsburgh in overtime. The AFC North, they're all going to knock each other in the face. That is a tough division. Cincinnati is at Cleveland to start their game. That's 1 a.m. Eastern here, so that's in about a half hour or so if you got CBS. Um, Cincinnati at Cleveland. Cincinnati at Cleveland. I like I like Cleveland to win this game. Again, I see Cincinnati being in the mix because they lost week 1 last week. So this isn't a situation by any means where you panic, just like what I mentioned with Kansas City. The Cleveland Browns, they play their opponents tough in their division. It's just a matter of playing everybody else tough. You know what I mean? So I'm going to take Cleveland to win this game. I'm going to take Cleveland to win this game. Week 2, the Bengals are at home against the Baltimore Ravens, September 17th, 1 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be a shootout. That's going to be a great game. Baltimore played them in the wild card at Cincinnati last season and fell just short with Tyler Huntley, of all people, at quarterback as opposed to Lamar Jackson. So I know Baltimore's going to play them tough. Um, Give me Baltimore week 2. That'll put Cincinnati at 0-2. 0-2 teams don't really make the Super Bowl. But this is where things get interesting looking at their schedule. Week 3, they're at home against the Rams. That's a dub. Week 4, they're at Tennessee. It's not like they're traveling far. That's a dub. I could see them beating Tennessee in Tennessee. Week 5, at Arizona. I did mention the cross country travel, but that's a whooping. Arizona's going to get beat. Cincinnati's going to beat them. So, like I said, I see Cincinnati losing their first 2 games, but they're going to bounce back and win their next few based on what I'm seeing. So, again, I'm taking Cleveland to win today simply because Cleveland plays their division rivals tough. But if you're a Cincinnati Bengals fan, don't trip because they're just going to start tough, but they'll bounce back. The next game we're going to talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. I mentioned Jacksonville a little bit earlier. They, of course, won the AFC South last year and won a playoff game and a nice comeback over the LA Chargers before bowing out to Kansas City in the divisional round. They're looking to definitely build on what they have already. Because here's a couple things to keep in mind here. Calvin Ridley, they acquired him from the Atlanta Falcons for a fourth-round draft pick, and he didn't play because of being suspended. You're going to get him back. You're going to get Calvin Ridley back. You discovered Christian Kirk can play when you paid him that 4-year, $84 million deal. So you're going to have Kirk and Ridley to throw to. Evan Ingram is back on another 1-year deal. He's going to be your tight end. You're going to have him to throw to. And Jacksonville has one of the best lines in football on offense. The Jacksonville Jaguars, this is the first time in a while, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, you could say, hey, we could be dangerous. Jacksonville Jaguars have never been to the Super Bowl as a franchise. Will this be the year? I don't know, but it's possible. They made a lot of picks in the draft. That's another thing that makes the Jacksonville Jaguars very dangerous because all those years that they were bad, they were cooping draft picks. They were gathering up draft picks to use in the future. And it started with drafting Trevor Lawrence a few years ago. This team is going to be viable due to the fact that 2 of their teams in their division, as I mentioned, the Colts and the Texans, they're rebuilding. And Tennessee, we don't even know if they are. So today, again, they're at Indy, 1 p.m. So 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox. If you got Fox, check that game out. Next week, they're hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. I talked about that earlier with Kansas City Chiefs schedule. Let's be honest for a second. That's going to be a good game. If Kelsey is back, he's going to be playing like a man on fire. So I'm actually going to take the Chiefs to win that game in Jacksonville. That put Jacksonville 1-1 as far as me guessing here. They have 3 more home games. This is really strange. The Jacksonville Jaguars are at Indy. And then they have 5 straight home games. Now, one of them is in another country. They're playing in London against the Buffalo Bills week 5. So technically one of their home games is in another country, but it's considered a home game. Now, week 3 is they're at home against the Houston Texans. That's a win. That'll put them at 2-1. Week 4, they're at home against the Atlanta Falcons. That's a win as well. So that'll put them at 3-1 before they head across the pond to play Buffalo. um, I'm gonna take Buffalo close to win that game in London. I'm gonna take Buffalo close. It's not gonna be a blowout. I'm gonna take Buffalo close. So that's gonna put Jacksonville at 3-2 through their first 5 games, roughly 3-2. Again, if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, you have a lot to be excited about, but you're just gonna have to see how things pan out. And we'll definitely talk about it. We're gonna talk about all these teams as this show goes on. We're gonna talk about all this. But this is just as far as what we know and what we feel today, plain and simple. So, again, after 5 games, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars as a 3-2 football team. Another game on the docket, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be heading to the Minnesota Vikings today to take on the NFC North champs. Baker Mayfield, now the new starter for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's taking over for Tom Brady, which I it's a very unenviable position to be in, but nevertheless, you got a job to do. And based on stuff that I've seen, he says he's ready. He says he can do it. Tampa Bay at Minnesota. In all honesty, that game is going to be very interesting. We're going to see if Tampa Bay is going to be terrible. We're going to see if they're going to be bad. We're going to see if they're going to be okay. I don't expect them to be good. It's also a good question as far as what Minnesota's going to do. They don't have Thielen anymore. They don't have Dalvin Cook. It's going to be a very interesting game. As far as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers looking at their schedule over the next few weeks, I could see them actually, I could see them winning this game. I'm going to take Minnesota because they're at home. But if Tampa Bay wins this, I wouldn't be too shocked. You still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin at wide receiver, and those guys can eat. If Baker Mayfield can throw the ball at all, they'll be fine. Minnesota is home against the Chicago Bears and then the Philadelphia Eagles after that, week 2 and week 3. Um, I could see them hmm, I could see them beating the Bears and losing to the Eagles. So I'll put them at 1-2. They're at the Saints week 4, home against Detroit week 5. Bay could be a 2-3 football team after 5 weeks. Tom Brady's gone. You're bringing in Baker Mayfield. This is his 4th team already in his career. That's rough. He's looking to redeem himself. Again, this is only his 6th season. He was drafted in 2018, number 1 overall by the Cleveland Browns, and this is his 4th team already. You know he's looking to put in that work. So again, as far as what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be through 5 games, I got them being 2-3. On the flip side, looking at the Minnesota Vikings and their schedule, again, I got them winning today's game today. They're at Philly Thursday night football. That's actually in just 4 days. Thursday night football at 6:15. That's 8:15 Eastern. I could see them losing that game. They're home against the Chargers week 3. Whew. The Chargers have the better quarterback in Justin Herbert to me. Cousins isn't trash, but I just really like the way Herbert plays, even though I'm not a Chargers fan. I could see them actually losing that game. I could see the Chargers going in there and taking that game close. They'll have a 10-day turnaround between week 2 and week 3, but I still got the Chargers winning that game. They're at Carolina for week 4. They'll win that game. Home against Kansas City week 5. I'm actually going to take them to lose that game. So they'll be a 2-3 football team through 5 weeks. Again, that's Tampa at Minnesota. That's actually 1 p.m. Eastern time. Now, Tennessee Titans, they are at the New Orleans Saints. This will be DeAndre Hopkins' first game as a Tennessee Titan. And also, as I mentioned, Derek Carr, this will be his first game with the New Orleans Saints as their quarterback after 9 seasons with the Las Vegas Raiders slash Oakland slash LA Raiders. All those times they moved. um, the Tennessee Titans, as I stated earlier, I feel like that division belongs to the Jacksonville Jaguars. But the Tennessee Titans are definitely better than the Texans and Colts. As far as today, I'm going to take the Saints to win their home opener. I really like the idea of Derrick Henry running the ball on that team. He's going to get his, but I still feel like the Saints are going to pull off a close game. Week two, they're playing against the Los Angeles Chargers. They're hosting them. The Tennessee Titans are hosting the Los Angeles Chargers. Um, Looking at that game, I definitely could see the Chargers winning that because they have great personnel. So I could see the Chargers winning that to put the Titans at 0-2. The Titans are then at Cleveland week three. Um, that's kind of a pick 'em to me, but I'm going to take Cleveland. So that'll put Tennessee at 0-3. The Cincinnati Bengals, that's 0-4. Even though they're hosting the Cincinnati Bengals, I took Cincinnati earlier, so I'm sticking with that. Week five at Indianapolis, I think that's where they get their first win. Um, Indianapolis, they got a lot of work to put in as far as making that roster viable again. And drafting Anthony Richards and naming him the starter is a good way to go. But they really are going to have to put some work in as far as being a good team. So I got the Tennessee Titans beating Indianapolis. So the Titans could start out kind of rough here at 1-4. The Saints, however, let's look at their schedule. Let's see how they're looking here to start their season. Again, I got the Saints winning today to beat Tampa. Week two, they're at Carolina. I said that they would win that football game. I'm going to stay with that, I think. Week three, they're at Green Bay. It's late September, so there's not going to be any snow on the ground unless something strange happens. Saints at Packers. Saints at Packers, week three. I'm going to take the Packers to actually win that football game, week three. I'm going to take the Green Bay Packers to win that game. The Saints at that point would be 1-2. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I got them winning that game because they're at home hosting Tampa, so I'm going to put them at 2-2. Week five, they're at New England. New England, I really don't know what the hell they are. I don't think they're good, but I don't think they're terrible. They're definitely a wild card team as far as what they're going to be. Since they're hosting the Saints and they have a solid defense, I'm going to take the Patriots to win that game. I'm going to take the Patriots to win that game. So that's going to put the Saints at 2-3 to start off their season through 5 games. Switching gears, the next game coming up also on the schedule at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, the San Francisco 49ers. They're rolling into Steel City to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm looking at the 49ers. We've been talking about them so much off season that they better do something. We've been talking about them so much. Joey Bosa, he was holding on until he got his contract. He got paid. He's now good to go. You got Christian McCaffrey, who you acquired in the offseason or previous season here via trade from Carolina because they were going nowhere and they needed the picks. You got him in the backfield. They have pieces everywhere. The only question that we had is Brock Purdy's elbow okay from tearing that UCL? He apparently is ready to roll. On the flip side, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a lot of people slept on the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people slept on the Pittsburgh Steelers because they started out the season 2-6 in 2022, but they finished 6-3, or no, I'm sorry, 7-2. They finished 7-2 to finish 9-8. Now they missed the playoffs because of tiebreakers and whatnot, but Mike Tomlin, as coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, has still to this day never gone below 500 with this football team. It was looking like that, but it didn't go down like that. So the Pittsburgh Steelers hosting the 49ers, I'm not going to be shocked if Pittsburgh wins this football game. Bosa wasn't in camp. He missed all of camp. He missed all those practices. Purdy was out there, but a lot of the people that I'm hearing, a lot of sources are saying that Sam Darnold had a really good practice also as well, which is a large part of the reason why Trey Lance was traded to the Cowboys. He's out of there. So looking at San Francisco and Pittsburgh, I'm going to take actually the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this football game. I'm going to take the Steelers. I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this football game at home. Next week, they also host the Cleveland Browns Monday Night Football. The Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Monday Night Football. That's going to be solid. September 18th. Boy, I'm gonna take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win that one as well to go 2-0. Week 3, 6 days later, they're playing against the Las Vegas Raiders, Sunday Night Football. They're at Las Vegas. Give me the Steelers to win that game as well, 3-0. Then they're at Houston. That's 4-0. That's 4-0 for the Pittsburgh Steelers to start. Week 5, they're hosting the Baltimore Ravens. People are getting knocked in the face that day, period. That's gonna be a barn burner, but nevertheless, I'm gonna take the Steelers. I'm gonna take the Pittsburgh Steelers to be 5-0 after 5 weeks. I'm gonna take the Steelers, I don't care. I'm gonna take the Steelers for now. Looking at the 49ers schedule, I got them losing at Pittsburgh today. They're at the Los Angeles Rams week 2. They're gonna win that football game. The Rams just don't have anybody. They're gonna win that game, and they're gonna knock them out because they're gonna be mad about what happened later today. Week 3, they're hosting the New York Giants. New York Football Giants gotta come all the way across the pond or across the country, across the pond, and it's a Thursday night game, week 3, September 21st. I'm gonna take the 49ers to win that game just off the strength of the Giants coming all the way across country, and they're gonna give Daniel Jones problems. They're gonna make it rough on him. Week 4, the Arizona Cardinals, they're hosting the Arizona Cardinals. They don't have guys either. They're gonna win that football game. And then week 5, Sunday Night Football hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. The Dallas Cowboys, huh? That's gonna be a very close game, but I'm going to take the Niners just because they're at home. Simply because they're at home. So they're gonna be 4-1. I got the Steelers 5-0 after 5 games. I got the 49ers 4-1. Crazy. Now, the next game on the schedule that we're looking at here, also at 1 p.m. Eastern, the Arizona Cardinals are heading to the Washington Commanders. Arizona, they got a lot of pieces that they don't have from last season gone. Kyler Murray tore his ACL very late in the season last year, so he's not going to be available. He's on IR. JJ Watt retired. AJ Green retired. And of course, they released DeAndre Hopkins. He's now a Tennessee Titan. They have a new head coach after Cliff Kingsbury was fired. They have a new head coach in Shane Steichen, and they're facing a team that's also got some uncertainty and some new pieces as well. The Washington Commanders, they have a new quarterback in Sam Howell. They gave it a shot with Carson Wentz, and it did not work. Did not work at all. Carson Wentz is out of football. He's not even with the team now. And you also have a new offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy, who is from what I hear, exact opposite of their previous offensive coordinator, Scott Turner. Very loud, very in your face, demands the best. He was with the Kansas City Chiefs. So 8 seasons with the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to expect that. Looking at this game, this is crazy to me, but I'm gonna go with the Washington Commanders to win this game. I'm gonna take the Washington Commanders to win this game. The next game up on the schedule, the Houston Texans, they're facing the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans have a rookie coach in CJ Stroud, a new head coach and D'Amico Ryans, and again, a lot of young pieces. They're heading to Baltimore. They got a freshly extended quarterback in Lamar Jackson. You have a new wide receiver in OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. He signed a 1-year deal worth 18 million. That's a lot of money. A lot of money for a guy who's torn that ACL a couple times, but he's looking to prove something. And then I hear that there's a rookie wide receiver, Zay Flowers out of Boston College. He's looking to ball on fools. Big, strong body. He can run down the field. I got Baltimore smashing the Houston Texans today. They may start out slow, but they're gonna smash the Houston Texans. Baltimore, they're in the AFC North, so that division is gonna be tough. That's where Baltimore's tough games are gonna come from. Those 6 games that they count on their schedule, 2 against Pittsburgh, 2 against Baltimore, 2 against Cincinnati, or I'm sorry, 2 against Cleveland, 2 against Cincinnati. Those are the games that Baltimore are gonna have trouble with, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm gonna take Baltimore to destroy Houston. Houston's gonna have a tough season, and they're probably gonna be picking in the top 5 again, to be honest with you. Those are all the 1 o'clock Eastern games. Let's get to the 2:25 Eastern games here. The Green Bay Packers heading to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears. Again, Jordan Love, this is his 5th season, but this is gonna be his 1st season heading into the season as the unequivocal starter for the Green Bay Packers, taking over for Aaron Rodgers. Now, the Chicago Bears, this is Justin Fields' 3rd season that he's heading into, and he's going to have a new weapon on the outside with DJ Moore, whom they acquired in exchange for that first overall pick. If you're the Chicago Bears, you don't need that first overall pick. You need players. So they acquired DJ Moore and a couple of picks to get that number one pick, to give that number one pick away. Green Bay at Chicago, under normal circumstances, I usually know who's going to win that football game, but this one here, uh-oh. It's gonna be a different scenario with the Green Bay Packers and Chicago Bears, but I'm still damn. I'm gonna take the Chicago Bears to win by a field goal. I'm gonna take them close. I don't know why, but I'm gonna take Chicago close because these teams, Green Bay, Chicago, and Minnesota, Detroit's already up a half game on you. You haven't even played yet, so you gotta win. Another game, 2:25 Eastern. The Las Vegas Raiders are heading to Denver to take on the Broncos. Denver Broncos. New quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo taking over for David Carr. They also acquired Jacoby Myers from the New England Patriots as a free agent. 6'2", 200 pounds, 5th year out of North Carolina State. He spent his first 4 seasons with New England. In 2022, he had 67 catches for 804 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's going to help out a lot because a lot of the attention is going to be on Devontae Adams. He's a stud. Defensive end Chandler Jones is out for today's game for personal reasons. He's been having some issues as far as with the team. They sent a member of the crisis team to his house the other day to see if he was okay. He tweeted some things and then deleted the tweet saying he didn't want to be there. So a lot of chaos going on in Las Vegas. Denver last season, just throw it out. Just throw it out with the trash. It didn't go. New coach Sean Payton, he's looking for some redemption. Quarterback Russell Wilson, he's definitely looking for some redemption. Definitely looking for some redemption. As far as the win today, I'm going to take the Denver Broncos. They need this game. There's really no such thing as a must-win game week 1, but for the Broncos, it is. I'm going to take them to win this game. The Philadelphia Eagles are visiting the New England Patriots, the NFC champions. Again, they went under a lot of changes on both sides of the ball. They extended Jalen Hurts. They got him solidified as their quarterback for the future. Looking at the Philadelphia Eagles and New England game, in all honesty, the New England Patriots, they added Ezekiel Elliott as running back, but I just don't know if he'll be a factor. Damian Harris, he went to the Buffalo Bills, so I guess he's in essence his replacement. I still got Philadelphia winning this football game. I mean, I know Bill Belichick is a great coach, but you ain't had Tom Brady, you ain't had no results. Let's just be real here. I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles to win this football game today here, and New England, we'll just have to see what they are, but I just don't know. I just don't know if they're going to be any good. Another NFC East team playing today, the Miami Dolphins, they're heading out to Los Angeles to SoFi Stadium to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. They extended Justin Herbert. They got him signed up to a deal. This was the summer of the quarterback. The Dolphins, they have a great wide receiver tandem. Not good, great, with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Miami is heading out west, but in all honesty with you, looking at this game just from the outside looking in, it's going to be close until late, and I got the Chargers winning this game by a field goal over Miami. Miami's going to put up some numbers, but the Chargers, Justin Herbert is going to make the right play at the end. I'm very curious to see how this wide receiver that they drafted is in the first round as well. Quentin Johnston out of TCU, 6'2", 208 pounds. Apparently he can fly. I'm noticing a theme with a lot of the players that I'm talking about that were drafted. They're all out of TCU. TCU could have used those guys against Colorado the other night or the other day, but that's neither here nor there. Again, I'm taking the Chargers to win by a field goal late to win this football game. Now, the next game I see, the last game of the 225 slate that we're going to see here today, the Los Angeles Rams are visiting the Seattle Seahawks. I mentioned earlier this, and I mention it again. Cooper Cup has been ruled out. He's been placed on IR, injured reserve, with that hamstring issue that he's dealing with. They started August 1st. He aggravated it first in camp. It's been nagging him ever since. So they're placing him on IR, which means he's going to miss a minimum of 4 games, including today. And the Seattle Seahawks, they're looking to repeat that surprise play of 2022. Geno Smith was a revelation to everybody. We had people saying that he was going to be a downgrade from Russell Wilson. Obviously, that was not the case. I got Seattle winning this football game today. The Los Angeles Rams, they're probably going to be in a similar position to the Arizona Cardinals. They're not going to get players back, and they're not going to be good until late. And so they're probably going to be a lottery team. So I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to win this football game. And just taking a quick peek at the Seattle Seahawks here, we mentioned it in a couple other schedules, but they're at Detroit next week, so they're probably going to lose that game. They're home against Carolina. They'll probably win that game. So Seattle, they're still to be determined, but things are kind of looking good out the gate as far as Seattle goes. So if you're a Seattle Seahawks fan, just hold your breath. Just kind of see how things go. Now, Sunday night football. Sunday night football. That game is at 6:20, so 8:20 Eastern. The talent-laden Dallas Cowboys are heading to MetLife Field to take on the New York Giants. Mentioned this at the top of the program, but Dak Prescott, he's looking to bounce back from that league-leading 15 interceptions. There were changes on both sides of the ball. Of course, running back Ezekiel Elliott no longer there. They also lost tight end Dalton Schultz to the Houston Texans. He signed a 1-year deal there. But you're bringing in wide receiver Brandon Cooks to go along with having C.D. Lamb and Michael Gallup. So that wide receiver tandem is going to be pretty solid. And then you bring in Stephon Gilmore on the defensive side of the ball to match up as your other cornerback with Trayvon Diggs. That's scary. The Dallas Cowboys, as much as we want to talk about them, they have a lot of talent across the board. At the Giants, Daniel Jones, he got paid, but the Giants paid the wrong guy. They really should have paid Saquon Barkley. Me personally, I'm going with the Dallas Cowboys to win this football game. The Dallas Cowboys win this football game, and then just looking at their schedule, I'm going to take a quick peek really quick here. The Cowboys, they're home against the Jets. So that should be a tough game, but I still think they can win that football game. We still don't know what the Jets are. I know they got Aaron Rodgers, but we still don't know what they are. We just don't. And then they're at the the Atlanta or the Arizona Cardinals. Excuse me. They're at the Arizona Cardinals. So Dallas, they could start out 2-1, but that's not the goal. You haven't been to a Super Bowl in 27 years. That's the goal. Super Bowl 30 was a long time ago. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys, we're going to talk about them a lot, but the goal is Super Bowl. They haven't even been to the NFC Championship in that time. So, Dallas Cowboys, I got them starting out as a 2-1 over their first few games. I got them winning tonight, but again, that's not the goal. And last but not least, we're going to talk about Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football. Monday Night Football. 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time. The Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, they're heading to their division rival, the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers making his debut after 18 seasons with the Green Bay Packers. 18 seasons. They brought over Alan Lazard on a 4-year deal. He was a wide receiver with the Green Bay Packers last season, or the last few seasons. And they brought over Randall Cobb, his buddy, his ace, his sheriff, I guess. They brought him over from Green Bay as well. I don't know what they're gonna add, but this Green Bay Pack or this New York Jets team is gonna be a lot better. They're basically the Green Bay Packers East. As far as beating Buffalo, I don't know. We're gonna have to see about that. But as far as the final game that we're gonna talk about before we wrap things up here today, I'm looking at this team. I'm saying to myself, the Jets, if you really want to prove to us that you're worth a damn, you're gonna win this game. So I'm gonna take the Jets. I'm going to take the New York Jets to win Monday Night Football. I'm going to take the Jets to win Monday Night Football. I'm going to do it. And so that wraps up all the football games we got here. That's a lot of football. As you know, everybody's playing today and tomorrow night. Um, I'm ready. I'm ready to watch some games. I'm ready to talk some games. I'm ready to talk some football. As the season goes on, we're going to get into all the stuff that happens. We're going to get into all the games that are coming up. We're going to get into all the plays needed. Check your fantasy football teams here. You have some games starting right now. You have some games starting later. Make sure you don't have anybody out. I really hope you didn't start Travis Kelsey. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, I am Big J all day, aka the Mighty Big J. This is the Hype Show, and I appreciate you tuning in. Check with me again. I'm going to be back on Tuesday. Again, we're going to talk about all the football and how all the games went down. And we're going to see if I was right, if I was wrong, if I was in between. But y'all take care. I am, again, Big J all day, and this is the Hype Show. Thank you.